Welcome to the BCAM Podcast, where we believe better coaching always matters. My name is Michael Masucci, author of Elite Journey books and BCAM board member. My co-host is Coach Dan Young, the executive director of BCAM, the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. On this podcast, we bring in leaders to share insights for the betterment of our game. Our vision is that every team across the state of Michigan has a great coach. We're so excited to have BCAM board member, head coach of Rochester High School, Nick Evola, join the BCAM podcast. Coach, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on today.
Coach, we're really excited to get to talk about Rochester High School, your team, and all the success that you guys are enjoying. But maybe we can take our listeners back a little bit and you can share your basketball journey, just very, very shortly, your playing days, some of your coaches that stood out, and what led you to Rochester High School.
Well, I played high school ball at Warren Woods Tower under Coach Bob Jollett, and I graduated in 1999. When I graduated, I ended up playing at Schoolcraft College for 2 years, and then I earned a scholarship to play at Western Michigan. So I played at Western Michigan. I graduated in 2004, and I just had such a great experience, in my years at Schoolcraft and Western, learned a lot of stuff, met some of my best friends that I still talk to this day. A lot of guys even stood up in my wedding. So just great place. Go Broncos. And then once I graduated, I moved home and I couldn't find a job. So I started subbing at my old high school. And then I just went in there and I ended up talking to the girls varsity coach that was one of my old teachers and asked if I could help her out. So I helped out with the varsity girls in 2004 and then went right into helping out with the varsity boys. Went to my old coach, Bob Jollett. He let me come in and help, and it was great. I learned a lot. Bob helped me tremendously. He let me take over a couple drills. He let me have a voice. So it was fun just to go back to the old stomping grounds and get started. And then kind of just started from there. I never knew I wanted to be a coach. After my playing days, I was trying to pursue playing and all that, but coaching never crossed my mind until I went back home and started helping out. And then from there, I got my first head coaching job as a JV girls head coach at Warren Woods Tower. So I did that for 3 years. And then I started teaching as well. I went at Western, I got a business degree, but again, computer information systems, couldn't find a job. So I went back to Wayne State, got my master's in teaching. And so I got a teaching job. And then I moved over to the freshman boys. I did that for a year, jumped up to JV. And then 2 years later, I was the varsity coach. The cool thing about it also is my first year teaching, those kids were the first group that I coached, freshman boys. Then I moved up with them, JV boys, and then I ended up coaching a lot of those kids on varsity, my first year coaching varsity. So that was pretty cool too. So got started there. Steve Zankevich was the head coach before me. I learned a ton from him. He was a great coach, part of kind of building a program and organizing practices came from him. Because, as a young guy, I was just showing up, coaching. I didn't know anything else behind the scenes. And so I definitely learned a lot from him. And then one day he shot me a call and said he couldn't do it anymore. So it just happened and I just had to figure it out on the fly. So definitely is an adjustment when you take over a program, having to worry about all three teams, having to deal with the parents and the parent meetings and the fundraising and the just communicating with the community and everything. That was an adjustment, but as far as coaching the basketball, it was pretty simple. I mean, obviously not simple, but that's the
easy. You were born for it.
Came natural. Came natural to you.
Well, you know what I love about that story, Nick, and I know Coach Young's he talks about this all the time with our coaches in the aspiring coaches program, is the don't jump steps. Like he was, you were a freshman coach, you were a JV coach, you learned how to coach at those younger levels. So you said the word simple, but it was a natural evolving of all of those drills and those practices and your mentors, like all that comes to play, and you're never ready once you get that job, but your experiences help you know, kind of give you a little bit more of a firm ground to stand on, as you begin your coaching career. And then you go from Warren Woods Tower over to Rochester High School, and you're teaching there at Rochester, just having such a great year. If somebody saw your teams, Coach, even at Warren Woods Tower or at Rochester. Now, one thing that stands out is how you utilize the post play so well. I mean, your posts get a lot of touches. They do a lot of screening and slipping and rolling. Can you talk a little bit about how you teach that, what it looks like in practice, and all that goes into developing a really good post player?
Well, I'm fortunate this year to have some guys that can play in there. I know in my last few years at Warren Woods Tower, we didn't have much size. So we were doing more 5 out. And just like most schools, it's kind of evolving into a lot of 5 out, a lot of positionless basketball. So when I got here, we started, kind of working on some of the same stuff I was doing at Tower, but then just constantly evolving, right? I actually had a 2-year gap of not coaching, which ended up being the best thing for me. I was able to step away, reset, reboot, kind of reflect on things I like doing, things that I would change. And I feel like I became a better coach by stepping away. But not fast forwarding to now, I start looking and I'm like, not a lot of people go through the post. Not a lot of people play in the post. And, we still run a lot of positionless things. A lot of guys can interchange through spots, but I think one of the things that we do day to day is just everything like our shooting drills and different things. We kind of rep out different actions that we're going to see in the game. So, I mean, it's 3 years in the making, right? But they're starting to figure it out. They're starting to make the reads now. It's starting to become more natural just because we do it and we emphasize it every day. And I think the guys have been doing a great job just learning learning how to get in there, learning how to slip, learning how to seal. We've been trying to implement more post touches, post work across the board, even the guards. We got everybody working on hook shots and up and unders and different footwork. We got everybody working on perimeter stuff. So it kind of gives everyone a feel of what it's like, what needs to be done. So they have a better understanding of what their teammates need to do.
Nick, have you found that because the game's evolved into this positional, which is all good, but have you found that your opponents have struggled guarding post players because they're not used to guarding post players? And second question, do you get to the free throw line more when you work through the big guys or work through even anybody closer to the basket before you go to the 3 line? Are you getting more free throw shots? Have you noticed that this year?
I think we are getting to the line quite a bit. I think we have a good balance between, 2-point field goals and 3-point field goals, where a few years back it was backwards. We were shooting more 3s than 2s. Now we have a good balance. We're working inside to out, and I definitely think getting to the line because a lot of people switch nowadays too. So we had to learn, what are we going to do when a guard switches on a big or vice versa, and we had to learn that for us, like how we defend it. So I thought we need to put other teams in an uncomfortable spot because not a lot of people are working the post. So I'm sure it's a surprise when you have to, maybe if a guard gets switched on a big and now they have to go inside and post.
It's just like, going against a very physical football team that just comes at you. I'm sure that's a reason why one of the reasons why you've had 11-0 start and just a great season so far. So compliments to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, Coach, we have an aspiring coaches program where we talk a lot about not only how to get a job, but also how to develop a program from freshman, JV, all the way up to the juniors and seniors. Can you talk a little bit about how your idea of growing a program has evolved from One Words Tower to now Rochester? When somebody says, tell me about Rochester basketball, or how do you build from the ground up? Like, what were some of the things that you did instantly there when you went to Rochester? You said you had a few years off to reflect. Like, talk to us about, now this is your second job as a varsity coach. What what does it look like from the ground up at Rochester?
Well, when my first year, when we came in, we started on the defensive end. We really started working on just our basics, guarding the ball, closing out, getting the gaps, getting the help, trusting each other, moving as one. And because I just think, if you can defend hard, on a half court and get stops, you're going to be successful. So like we really, really worked hard defensively, and then just trying to build a culture of sharing the basketball, being good teammates, being unselfish. And then, kind of as that first year, my focus was more just, all right, we got to change some culture stuff, varsity, then start kind of trickling it down at the younger levels. One thing that I thought was cool when I was at One Words Tower is all the coaches were alumni players, besides a couple of my assistants. So my freshman and JV coach played there. Their assistants played for
That's
me.
pretty cool.
So kind of
Yeah.
everybody knew what was going on and what was expected. We had some core sets, core plays that every guy knew coming up. And then now we've been starting to build that here as well. So trying to start off with, here's some basics, and then we're going to obviously evolve as you go up levels. Another thing that we started to do last year, talking with a few different coaches, we actually started having some joint practices with the freshmen and JV throughout the year, so they can build all of the terminologies and some of the drills and things like that, so they could work together. And obviously those sophomores could be leaders to the freshmen,
Sure.
give a chance to compete, and then when the freshmen have to battle with our JV guys, then they're more prepared once they have to play other freshmen in the game. And it worked out last year. I mean, last year I think our freshmen were 18-4, the JV was 22-0, and we had
Wow.
19 wins. So it worked, and it's taken some time and some work with the coaches, and because you got to work with more guys, and the freshman JV coach have to work with way more guys in the gym, so they got to organize that practice. But I think that's been beneficial, and we're still doing it this year. Obviously, not as much experience at that JV level, but hopefully we're building, because a lot of guys are up with me, but hopefully they keep building that so that guys are ready to go for next year. So we're constantly, hopefully the goal is to constantly reload instead of
Right.
rebuild.
Right. That would be a good cut right there, Coach Young, for our coaches to hear what Coach Evola just said about how like an instant way just to build program continuity is have a practice. They're smart enough where they can organize 30 kids in a gym or 40 kids in a gym and really get some good development, almost like a summer camp, where you're just getting the most out of them. And those
Yes.
younger players are seeing the older players, what it takes to be a varsity player. There's nothing like a good example. And so that's a great idea. I've heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent to what you're doing. I think that, and obviously it's paying off, right? It's like you've had some success. What does your off season look like? So, you talk about program continuity in season. What does what will May, June, July, August, September, October look like in for Rochester athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we work pretty hard throughout the season. So obviously, we want to give them a little bit of time, give them a
Sure.
break. So we usually, once the season's over, we take some time off, and then maybe after spring break or getting into May, we start bringing them back in the gym. Whether maybe we're getting some guys in the weight room or just getting some guys to get some shots up, do some skill work. But then once June hits, obviously we're having a handful of practices, really just cleaning some stuff up, refreshing, getting ready for summer league. We'll played in a couple events each summer, like usually right here. We're at Oakland University. We were lucky enough to get into the Reaching Higher this past summer, which was a great experience for our guys. So just getting some opportunities to play and compete against some good teams. And then, usually August, kind of slow it down. And once school starts up, once we get everyone in, we start getting back to having some open gyms, getting some of the young guys in the gym, and then with the older guys doing some skill work and getting into a fall league. And, this year we're trying to add more speed and agility and weights incorporated with our skill work. Cause I think, you got to evolve your body as well. Guys are athletic, so we need to get bigger, faster, stronger, and get more skilled. So we did that this past fall. I thought it was good. I thought, definitely could see a difference with our guys being more focused on working on that kind of thing in the fall.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is success is not random. So being 11-0, it's not a random event. It takes a lot of things that go into that. And you can see the fruits of all of that work right now as your season's beginning. So one of the things that Coach Young has done is he's built a great board, and you're a part of that. Coach, you want to talk a little bit about Nick's role on the board and a little bit about the Hall of Fame and how that's such an important part of what we do at BCAM and Nick's role in that?
For sure. Nick and I met working summer camp, and we hit it off right away, and stayed in touch. And as as our board has evolved, um, when anything would maybe possibly open up, um, I was on it to try to recruit Nick to join our group. Um, he's done a great job of with the Hall of Fame. He's the Hall of Fame chairman, and he's basically taken everything we're doing and put it into um, uh, digital, and it's where he can, it's a numbers game, and it's based on applications, and then pointing out those applications. So he's taken us to the new world and cleaned everything up, which is just, he's a really talented guy. And he's been great for the board. Great experiences. Anytime you have, such an awesome person who was a former player and is now very successful, husband and father and coach and teacher. It doesn't get any better. So hopefully we'll be together for a long time, and um, someday he'll be inducted into that Hall of Fame. So excited to have him, and just lucky to have him, really.
So maybe both of you can weigh in on this. If we have a lot of listeners that give a lot of comments through email and otherwise, if they had somebody that they thought was deserving of the Hall of Fame, how would they go about nominating someone to that honor?
Well, they could just go on the BCAM website and go up to forms and um, Hall of Fame, and there is a application form. They could fill it out, scan it in, email it to me, and then I put it in the spreadsheet. And then each spring, we just kind of look at the whole database and it's just like Dan said, a numbers game. We look at the rankings, we look for the top 4 points, and it's all based on number of wins, win percentage, how many league titles and district titles and things like that, your service and your awards. So, you know, it's not a popularity contest. It's, you got it or you don't. So,
So you might be using your math skills in that one, Nick. A lot of analytics
oh yeah,
to measure, the worth, because we've had so many great coaches in this state, and I'd like to see them honored, and so we want to ramp up those applications. We want to honor these coaches from all over the state, and so we encourage our listeners to think about the great coaches in your community and to nominate them and get them the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah,
If
sometimes, the deserving coach who definitely should be in the Hall of Fame, it can take some real uh push to get them to fill out the application.
Right,
And so that would be an assistant coach, a fellow colleague, someone that is either played for that coach or just has coached against that coach. Um, and sometimes it can be, someone who we had a call just the other day, and Nick, it'll be coming your way. Um, a coach who called and said, "Hey, is so and so in the Hall of Fame?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, has he filled out an application?" And well, let's figure it out. And he's like, I don't even really know the guy, but this is the coach that's calling me, and he was a Hall of Famer himself. And he goes, "But this guy I know is deserving. What can we do um, to get this going?" And I just thought that was like a Hall of Fame coach doesn't really have a personal relationship with his other coach, but knows that that coach is very deserving and is urging that person to fill out the application. That's what it's all about. So
love that.
our listeners, if there's someone out there that you think is deserving, get that application to them. Remember, it's 300 wins minimum or 20 varsity seasons minimum. And for all our Hall of Famers, that's normally pretty easy to get to. But we always need those quality coaches to get those opportunities. And Nick does a great job. The Hall of Fame banquet is always it's one of the best. It's probably, I think it's the best night of the year.
Yeah,
Listen
and
to
we
those.
can encourage our Hall of Fame members to come to that dinner and to,
They do.
even if,
Not all of
and
them, but they do.
yeah, that because I think that's another great way to show support. So, Nick, I want to go right back to your team before we end this interview. I always look at as when I was coaching as, all right, what's our biggest challenge coming up? And I would think one of the biggest challenges is one of your advantages is you're 11-0. That can be a challenge. Like, how do you keep that team humble and keep them, humming and keep them ready? Because as well as you're playing, you got to get better for the tournament and have them ready to go. So what are you thinking about right now as a coach coaching an 11-0 team?
right. Yeah, like I said, very excited. Super proud of these guys. It's amazing being 11-0, but we just always talk and just look at what's ahead of us,
Yes.
right? We're just looking at what's ahead of us. We're taking it one game at a time. We always talk about we just want to be 1-0 this
I
next
like
game
that.
and 1-0 this next game. But I feel like we got a special group of guys. They're great guys. They work extremely hard. They trust each other, so we really don't have the type of guys that are kind of walking around with their chest puffed up, thinking they're all this and all that. They're ready to come to work every day. So that's the cool part. They're ready to come to work, and then now don't get me wrong, we still got our days where we got to fix some things and we got to get on them, but they're just such a great group to work with. Again, super unselfish. Like, one of our things that we talk about is celebrate the success of others. And that's the truth with this group. It doesn't matter if a guy has 20 or a guy has 2, he's just excited about the game and working just as hard and pumped up for the next guy. So, obviously we got to just keep working hard. We talk about get better every single day and just keep improving. Cause obviously, now we're not under anybody's radar, right? We're going to probably get team's best effort. So we got to match it. We got to keep bringing it every day. And like I said, I just super proud of these guys and wouldn't want to do it with any other group. They're a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations. I'm sure the Rochester community, the administration, the fellow teachers and students are fired up about your team and your program, and well deserved, my friend.
So, Coach, we always end asking our guests the same question, and that's this: if you were to give a coach who wants to have a long, distinguished career in coaching some advice, what would that advice be?
What would that advice be? Um, just, whatever you believe in, like, just stick with it. Have standards and just live by them. Do things the right way, and, you know, the good stuff will take care of itself, right? Um, Early on, we used to have goals, like all these goals, like measurable goals, like, oh, we want to, you know, hold teams under this many points. We want to have this many of this or that. And, if you don't achieve that, you feel like something was wrong. Right. So we kind of went to more standards. Like we want to play a certain type of brand of basketball. We want to do X, Y, and Z. And if we do that and we focus on that every day and we work on every day and we don't waver from that, then all those things that we did have goals on take care of themselves. And
Yeah.
the success will come and the wins will take care of itself. And just, and then just don't, like, how do I say this? Like, do things the right way. Don't bend, right? Like, don't sell your soul for a win. Just hold true to your belief system, and people will follow you and people will trust you. Just keep working and doing the things you believe in.
I'll
That's
tell you,
great.
I just love what Coach Young was saying about you and the Rochester community. I mean, I could just imagine parents of a fourth or fifth grade, sixth grade middle school or young middle school or elementary, and they love basketball. And they go to a Rochester game and they see someone like you coaching the varsity team. And they say, that's who I want my son to play for because the way you handle yourself, the way you coach your players, you demand a lot, but you really are such a good man to them and a good example. And as we like to say at BCAM, you're the exemplar. And we couldn't be more happy to have you part of the board. So excited about the job you're doing at Rochester, and we really want to thank you for joining us. Coach Young, as the executive director, I mean, this is what you want coaching in these communities, I'm sure.
Yeah, Nick's wonderful, and he's a good friend, and he's a great coach, and um, just really proud of you, man, and so fired up. You're having a great season. Not surprised at all how you built this in your fifth year now. And
Thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, we'll be coming out and seeing you soon. You got some good assistants out there too. I heard you got Pleasant and
John
Masucci.
Pleasant, AJ Masucci, they've been great.
Oh, yeah,
They've been
that's
great.
great. That's great. Keep up the great work, Coach.
Yep.
Coach
Thank you.
Evola, thank you for joining the BCAM podcast. The BCAM podcast is proudly sponsored by Blast Athletics, the official fundraising and team management partner of the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. At Blast, they believe coaches, athletes, and communities succeed when fundraising is simple and communication is seamless. That's why BCAM has partnered with Blast to give our Michigan basketball programs the tools they need to raise more, engage more, and keep their teams connected. Learn more at blastathletics.com. Really appreciated that interview with Coach Evola from Rochester High School. You know, one of our visions, as we say often, is that every team across the state of Michigan has a great coach, and Rochester has it. They have a great coach. And Coach, I'd like to talk to you real, briefly about your thoughts on his steps to become a head coach, because I just think that, especially if you were a college player like Nick was, you think, you just can be a coach. Talk to us about the importance of the steps.
So Nick's having a great experience right now. I mean, we could say Nick's having a great experience. He's got a great group of kids. His program is rolling. They're winning, but he also has a great culture and the guys get along and all those things are working. But the reason why it's working is Nick didn't skip any steps. I mean, he could have easily, in his mind, after he graduates from Western Michigan and being a D1 player and obviously he's a very good speaker and he presents himself very well and he knows his stuff, to want to be a varsity coach immediately. And he admitted that he didn't have a clue. He knew basketball, but he didn't know he had a lot of work to do in the other areas. So he was a freshman coach on the girls' side. He's a freshman coach on the boys' side. Now he's a JV coach. Now he's a varsity assistant for his former coach. And then he took some time off to reevaluate. And then he gets his opportunity. And then he builds on that. Then he gets another opportunity at Rochester High School. Teaching job. In the building. Division I school. Now he's ready. He's prepared. He's had years under his belt. He's got mentors. And he's having a really good experience.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for not trying to skip steps in any walk of life and move to the top of the ladder when you need to work from the bottom and slowly work your way up and build your philosophies and beliefs and systems of play and how he deals with all the other, fundraising and all the other stuff that goes along with being a head coach. And you're seeing the fruits of his labor 10, 12 years later because he put in the time to work up the way. So I hope coaches can, see that that's a great plan. And it's now he's having great success. And, it's a great template to follow.
And it's earned success. It wasn't like he just fell into a good team. I mean, he really is ready to coach a team like this. So, for all those coaches out there, and one of the things that we didn't touch on with Nick too is you'll see him at our clinic, you'll see him at a Michigan Elite 25, you'll see him always trying to get better. And so one opportunity we have for our coaches, no matter if you're, a freshman coach, a student manager, a JV coach, an assistant coach, even a first-year varsity or second-year varsity coach, our Aspiring Head Coaches program will be coming. I think this might be year 5, Coach, of our program. And if you want more information, we already have people enrolling. It's on our BCAM website, but our first session is April 28th. Our second session is May 7th. Those are Zoom sessions from 6:30 to 8. And then we have our live session, which will be May 9th at Clawson High School, which we get a chance to see you, to meet you, to hear your basketball story, and then become people in your life that can help you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So we're really excited about year 5. For our listeners, if you're interested, please go to the website and find out how to enroll. Also, if you know somebody, encourage them to. There's nothing like a network, and this is where we want to help you become a coach just like Nick, somebody who can handle a program like Nick's handling. What a great interview. And what I liked is you learn from exemplars. You learn from people that are doing things the right way for the right reasons. And Nick is one of those coaches.
For sure.
So we want to thank all of our listeners for all your positive feedback. Go ahead and rate us a 5-star. That really helps us with our sponsors and our followership. We wish you all the best as you guys continue to coach your teams and do the best for your players. We'll see you next time here on the BCAM